Yes. Again, this is just the first reading, so if you do, just get with Mrs. Reader. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item passes. Item D, Resolution 2018-15, to authorize Mike Wisman in his capacity as mayor to enter into an agreement with the University of Tennessee Municipal Technical Advisory Service to complete a sewer rate study. Mrs. Owens.
The town staff has engaged services from the University of Tennessee Municipal Technical Advisory Services, which is UTMTAS. We use them for several different things. We've recently reached out to them in regards to our sewer fund. They have provided us with a wastewater system financial snapshot report. It basically shows our dependency right now on surcharges and inspection fees and development fees. And so what we're asking tonight is to be able to enter into a contract with them. They used to do this, they no longer do it free of charge. So we are asking to enter into a contract with them. It's been about 7 years since we did it last. And what it's gonna do is actually give us, a cash flow analysis to know how much you're gonna deplete your cash each year and what our rates need to be to keep us from going into the negative. It's just gonna make sure that we can adequately fund all wastewater operations, responsibilities, and also authorize any annual cost of living, reviews that might happen. So at this time, we're just requesting to be able to enter into the contract with them. They think that it'll take about 2 to 4 weeks to get results back for us, for us to be able to provide.
You've heard the recommendation by Mrs. Owens. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Brooks. Second by Mr. Pardue. Sewers, Mr. Perkins just looks over here, and it's one of those things that it's our most important asset, but it's also the most difficult one to deal with. And there was actually just an article in the Business Journal today, I think, that was just sent to me right before the meeting. I haven't even had a chance to read it, but it was talking about the city of Memphis sewer freeze and the whole Cordova, parts of Bartlett, possibly into Lakeland, and another county areas that may be on a freeze because of that. So I know every year we've had this discussion on what our rates should be, and this will basically give us what we need to do to stay afloat and not be dipping into reserves or our cash flow, so.
Praying for a reduction.
I see heads shaking no.
I said praying for one.
Okay. So are there any discussion or questions on this?
I'll just make a comment. After sitting in on the first couple of finance committee meetings, I was actually shocked to realize that we really weren't, it was not paying for itself. So I asked for this myself personally because I think it should be paying for itself. So that I was really shocked. I guess I was just blind to the fact over the years I just got complacent, didn't pay attention to what was going on. When I really heard the numbers and it was coming out of the general fund every year, I was like, no. Not for something that 13 years ago, I didn't even want to approve in the first place.
That's not completely true. There's no money coming out of general fund.
It's not to
going
general.
into sewer.
But it's
coming
not
out of
paying for
reserves,
itself.
But technically, you've got some room for improvement.
Yes.
Yeah, we took on that $6 million project that needed to be done, but it also
Yeah.
dips into the pain on it too. So, yeah, but that completed our sewer options for this side pretty much of 40, north of 40. Any other discussion or questions?
There is a not to exceed on the study, right?
Not to exceed $3,000.
Okay. I knew that's for the record.
Okay.
We have been able to provide all of our records, which means they might have to search for them, so that is gonna cut down on some of your costs.
Great. All right, any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That item passes. Item E, Resolution 2018-16 to authorize Mike Wisman in his capacity as mayor to enter into an agreement with Fisher Arnold as a professional consultant engineering firm to provide services related to design and construction of Memphis-Arlington Bike and Ped project from Gerber to Milton Wilson. I'm not going to read all the TDOT numbers. So let's just go to Mrs. Owens.
And Mr. Allen's here to help me answer any questions. We put an RFQ out for this project. It published on January 28th. We collected sealed envelopes all the way until February 15th. We forwarded them to the review committee. We had 3 different members. They reviewed them. They all scored individually, and we are recommending that
You've heard the recommendation by Mrs. Owens. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Brooks, second by Mr. McKee. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? That item passes. Item F, Resolution 2018-17, to authorize Mike Wisman in his capacity as mayor to enter into an agreement with Fisher Arnold for professional design services for the preparation of architectural and associated plans for Forest Street campus. This says Mrs. Durant, but it's going to be Mr. Hill is going to come up and make the presentation and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. As you know, Fisher Arnold has done a master plan for the Forest Street campus, and basically looking at the area west of the athletic fields. There's a view of that master plan, and this project item that we're talking about right now is one element of that. What we've done, working with Power Zero, working with Fisher Arnold, has looked at the overall budget, money available, the things that Arlington would like to accomplish on this site within that bond amount that's available. And as part of that, we came up with what you see on the screen is a phasing plan. It turns out when we put the numbers to everything that we'd like to do out there, it was almost double what the $6 million we have. When you look at the library and the amphitheater and the farmer's market and then all the parking and all that site development costs. So what we've done is try to pare it back to within the budget you have available now, but leave your options open to do expansion of, or enlargement of certain facilities as time goes on and the need increases. So what we're proposing, what you see in yellow, of course, is the park project, which is a separate project that's already underway. But the part that's in kind of a gold color is what we call phase one, where we would build the detention basin, which is the northwest corner of the site, which turned out to be a lot bigger than we thought it was going to have to be when we started putting numbers to it. A little larger footprint, but and filling the property to make space for the parking lot area, future library, or whatever facility you ultimately determine to put there. And then also do earthwork for the amphitheater, which is in the blue area. We're saying the phase one project would go ahead and grade the entire site, get all the storm drain system built, get all the parking lot built, access drives around it. We're also doing widening of Forest Street, providing for some on-street parking along Forest and sidewalks down through that area. So that's kind of phase one of the master plan. Phase two is then to take what Fisher Arnold will be doing is designing the farmer's market, which is the lower left, the orange box you see there. And I think what we've determined is you can do about a 2,000 square foot farmer's market building, go ahead and put restroom facilities in that, or when you have an event at that location, it'd be convenient. But put that there on the side in a way that later on you can double that size as the demand for farmer's market facility increases. In addition to that, they would also be designing the amphitheater with the same idea in mind. We build a 2,000 square foot facility initially, but we do that and design that in a way where when you ultimately expand and have the structures and the footings and everything to support lighting or sound equipment, whatever an ultimate stage that you would have there. So initially you've got a smaller stage, but you could expand that when the demand and the funds are available to do that. So that would be phase two. Phase two would do everything in blue, which is really all the driveways and the paving and the site work and the buildings associated with those two facilities. So this item on right now, item F, is the agreement with Fisher Arnold for the design of those two buildings and the site work. And their contract also includes some sprinkler system design for the entire site, as well as lighting for the parking lot and that site. So that's what that item is. Just to give you an idea that when you look at the whole campus, the left part of the campus there's the project budget that we've come up with. We're looking at about $5.2 million, almost $5.3 million in construction costs for all those things that I've described. In the design fees, when you look at our fees for, which is the next item on the agenda, and Fisher Arnold's fees, that's a total of $408,000 for design, which is 7.7% of the construction cost. And then we've got CE&I, construction engineering and inspection. We think it's such a massive project and such a critical project that you need to have someone on site almost full some inspectors, but you can't have somebody here and then running off to go inspect the sewer line in the subdivision and lose track of what's going on here. So we think it's critical for the quality of the work to have somebody there. So the two items on, that you're gonna see on your agenda, F and G, I think it is, are add up to the total of design and CE&I fees. It covers power seal design and Fisher and Arnold, those two things. So that's the total budget, and come in over that, Kathy's gonna kill us, so. You have to answer the question.
You've heard the recommendation by Mr. Hill. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. McKee,
Second.
second by Mr. Biggs. Discussion. Biggs.
I had a little bit of sticker shock when I saw this. I knew that the project was a $6 million project, but I didn't realize how much architecture and design cost, I guess. So what you showed a minute ago, that was like 12.8% of the project?
Yes.
Okay. I did a little research and just kind of got some stuff off the internet, whatever, and the highest that I could find for fee schedule for design and inspection for a $5 million project, so what I have doesn't go up to $6 million, but for a $5 million project was 9.9%. That may not seem like a big difference between 12.8% and 9.9%, but it's a lot of money. And this, we're talking about $6 million, and the budget's $5,950,000. We don't have a lot of room in that budget. So maybe you could explain a little bit why that is such a high percent. Is there challenges with this?
May I ask a question first?
Yes.
Are you sure the 9.9% included the CEI, or was it just architectural and engineering?
And the CEI? Yeah.
Typical contractor design covers some level of what they call contract administration, so the designer's involved all the way through construction. What's not typical in an agreement like that is to have someone on site inspecting day in and day out. So there's money in the budget to cover that aspect and that role, and that's probably, I don't know if I can remember the number, between Jason and Nisha, maybe they help me think of it. That's a pretty big number. I was thinking it was somewhere in the
It's over,
$100,000.
no, it's more than that.
That was,
175.
for the inspector being on site. So when you're comparing numbers, I guess what I would say is if you look at what Arlington has paid on like the road projects where TDOT requires you to have an inspector 24/7 essentially, those have been running total percentage somewhere in 15 to 17% when you put that construction inspector cost on there. Just the construction phase as a percent of construction can wind up being as high as the design phase in terms of percentage. So that's where the number's coming from.
So on the 271,000, that's for the inspection, right?
That would include the inspector, that includes the engineers and the architects both being involved in the
Okay.
construction. You still have to, even the architect needs to come out periodically and inspect things, but there'll be a man on site full-time is included in that.
Does that inspector, do they do like daily logs of, what was going on that day, that type of thing, what they inspected? Because I'm just, I'm new at this, so it was a little bit of a shock to me, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can and cram it in. But I would like to see, maybe, I don't know if this is possible, but like a monthly, as this project starts and we see a monthly report of like hours from inspectors, how many hours each, just so at the end of the project, I can look and be able to, I guess in my own mind, justify spending so much money on inspectors. Are they really, are they out there every day? That type of thing. How many, I know this is over a 3-year, 3 years that we're supposed to do this project, but I don't picture an inspector being out there every single day. So,
And the inspector will have daily reports that he will turn in every week of what goes on. The other thing about the inspection aspect of the contract is we only bill for the time that he's there. So it's not a lump sum amount. It's the same way it's been on the road projects. If it takes him 20 hours this week, that's all
So that number actually,
May not be.
that's not a lump sum. I mean, that number could be lower than that. Right.
Could
Not to
be more,
exceed,
could
okay.
be lower.
The way it
No,
works,
she said not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Yeah.
Well,
the design part is a lump sum, and the construction inspection, that inspector is an hourly rate.
Okay.
And typically, the way it's been on the highway projects is not, they're not a not to exceed. If, you know, typically, there's enough budget that you come in under what you're estimating. But the problem is, if you set it as a not to exceed, and you get a terrible contractor, and you've got to be there 12 hours a day to keep it on
Yeah.
track. you know, Put the engineer at a disadvantage, you know, if I tell you I'm only gonna bill you for the hours I'm there, but then I hit a cap, then I'm working for free. So it's not necessarily in your best interest to do that, because if I'm getting close to my budget, how am I gonna control my time but still keep an eye on your project? So it's fairest for everybody if you bill it just for the time you spend. We've set a budget we think is reasonable considering the work we've done. But I can't guarantee you that we get the worst contractor in the world.
But you guys have experience in hiring contractors, right? I mean, right?
The problem with that is contractors are the low bidder. Whoever's got the lowest number gets the project unless there's some valid reason to reject the bid. So
Welcome to
like
government.
everything in this country, it's built by the cheapest guy out there. So we have to be able to keep an eye on them. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast.
Correct me if I'm wrong, on the first project, what we've already completed, there towards the end, there was a slight discrepancy on some of the dirt work that was done on the back of that property that I believe Kevin actually caught right towards the end of it. If we'd have had an inspector on site, could have maintained that those projects stayed on track.
Jason caught that.
Jason,
And
okay.
he
If
was the
it
inspector
was
on site.
not caught by the inspector on site, they would have been out of here and we'd have been left holding
Come on,
the
Jason
fee.
Dixon.
I'm not concerned about having an inspector. I'm just concerned about the cost is all. I had one other question. Just out from my own curiosity, amphitheaters, how, in the last 10 years, how many have you guys completed? Have you worked on amphitheaters or?
Fisher Arnold answer that one.
Good evening, I'm David Baker with Fisher Arnold. Yes, we worked on numerous amphitheaters, some in downtown type settings, like for example, Smyrna, Tennessee. We've designed some at the University Center, at the University of Memphis. And also in some parks, Artifacts Community Park, and some of the Greenway projects. We've had some naturalistic amphitheaters. So in probably the last 5 years, we've probably done
Okay.
in various ranges, various capacities.
All right, thank you.
this one's been scaled back quite a bit from what we,
Yes, sir. When we originally started looking at this, we were looking somewhere around 3,000 occupancy. Scaled it down to about, depending on how many
900.
blankets and long seating, but probably around 700 or so. So it's been subject to our designing it, and we've done some of our preliminaries to allow for some expansion as the town continues to grow, the bids grow.
You have to think of the farmer's market building and site and the amphitheater building and site as multi-purpose. It's not just music on the square that's gonna be on that stage. You're gonna have churches, you're gonna have schools, you're gonna have, other functions that wanna utilize those spaces. At the farmer's market, be a perfect place for a family reunion or an anniversary party or a family picnic, not just your farmer's market type uses. We see that farmer's market pavilion during Arlington and April being a showcase place for your artisans. So your wood carvers, your broom makers, people that are helping us celebrate our past history. Those artisans that would be working on their crafts as they're selling those crafts. There's a lot of multi-purpose type consideration going into both these buildings, churches with Vacation Bible Schools. We've already got an application for a special use permit for College Hill Park, where a church wants to have an outdoor Easter service and an Easter egg hunt. So this gives you another facility. VBS, during Vacation Bible School time, almost every church in Arlington is looking for a space, such as the safe room or a pavilion where they can have a safe place to bring the children and have outdoor activities. Your own library needs the outdoor space for outdoor learning opportunities. They need outdoor programming for summer reading. We have to go into the safe room now for any summer reading activities of any size to accommodate all the children who want to participate. And if you need an outdoor facility, you know, they've got to go to the parks and utilize those as well. So you have to think of those buildings as multi-purpose, not just because you named it amphitheater or you named it farmer's market means that there won't be multi-things going on there. I foresee that maybe even the schools would want to have choir concerts or their orchestra, band, type functions out there when the weather's permitting.
Theater.
Give you a different venue, so to speak.
Well, just for instance, anything that we're doing now in the parking lot of Depot Square, once all this construction and stuff starts down there, that's gone. You're gonna be moving, and
Well, you're
this
gonna
will
have
give you a
to
good
shift-
location to shift it
You're
to.
gonna have to shift east even this year,
Yeah.
because as the mayor mentioned, construction fencing
It's
is
gonna-
already
it's
around
gonna
the
do
gym
it.
lot. So you're not gonna be able to utilize that, and that's normally where we have our food trucks parked.
And for once, I'd like to see us do a project from start to finish and finish it properly, not just halfway from,
Which is
I would do
very
that.
expected.
Yes.
And to play, and to further what Mr. Hill said about the fees, and not to downplay, the simplicity of doing architecture on the building, but it's a 40 by 60 slab structure. With the amphitheater, you have sight lines have to take into consideration, lighting, the rigging, even though we're not installing the lighting at this point, we have to design for it, which will take a special consultant. It's not necessarily in your normal fee, as well as the additional structure and things like that, so.
Sound amplification.
Sound, and all of that has to be, so it's not just, you know, four walls and a roof. It's a little bit different animal, but takes a little bit more thought, into design as well as make sure.
On the amphitheater, I don't know, you know, how far along you are, but is it just gonna be a hill, or is there gonna be some,
2 rows.
No, what we looked at during the design process, we wanted a variety and provide lots of options for the people using the amphitheater. And the first couple rows is gonna be fixed seating.
Okay.
With areas for
Concrete.
accessibility. And then we go back and then we have, kind of small retaining walls that is, kind of bench seating. And then go back a few levels and then be all lawn so that you can have people that just don't want to let sit in the grass. Some people just want to kind of stop in and sit in the, retaining walls. Some people just come in with a blanket and picnic. It's covering all aspects of viewership for this, so it's going to be unique and really exciting.
And I'd ask you to remember that the town of Arlington has a long history with both of these firms. Both of these firms have designed and worked on multiple projects for the town, always doing an excellent job, always making sure that they have our best interest at heart.
Mr. McKee?
I was just going to say, something we haven't discussed, but is about to become extremely necessary with the project that's going to be going on where the old gym was. Lack of parking, even more than what we've seen with soccer and other things going around. I hope our townspeople are patient, but at the same time, this project, most of all, needs to move forward but for parking and safety alone, in my opinion. And the other parts that we can accomplish in this budget are favorable and good for everyone in town, but we've got to move forward with this on that.
Before you, once we put it out for bids, you have to award that contract. So it will come back before you for phase 1 to award a contract and for phase 2 to award a contract.
for once in the 14 years I've been sitting up here, we've got other investors putting money into downtown, so
Yes, and that's a
that's a
good
good
point.
thing. And this is us showing that we still love it as well, so.
More than we're going to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's anywhere from 12 to 15 million about to be invested around that square area, so we do have to do our part. I mean, and I actually heard that from one of the ones that's building the other day, saying, I sure hope y'all get all that done over there, because we're we're pushing for our side. So I think that it shows the commitment from the town. It's scary to spend the money. But, I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here if we hadn't crunched the numbers and know that we can do it and know that, I mean, I hate to say it's necessary. I mean, because somebody can always say something's unnecessary, but again, like you said, parking, safety, just those issues alone, and just having a vision, and that's the big thing. I mean, this thing's actually been in the works for 6 years. I mean, and so, well, I mean, I know, but I'm just saying since we started that master development plan right around 2011, 2012. So I know there's been a lot of visions, but we actually put it on paper and we've worked to get here. And so at some point, we got to commit.
Well, we've spent a lot of money upgrading our sports facilities and things that don't benefit the town as a whole. And this is the first project, I believe, at this kind of scale, definitely, that is something that's going to benefit every person in town if they want to be a part of it. And I'm excited about it, so that's where I'm at.
Mr. Biggs, you still have any questions?
No, I think people misunderstood. I'm not concerned, you know, I don't disapprove of the project. I just, you know, it was shocking. So maybe as I'm in this position longer, I'll get less
No,
shocked.
no, you won't. I don't think you were shocked as much as I was.
No, we were all still shocked at that.
Okay.
I admit, when you see the numbers and you look and you're like, all right, that part's done over there, and you look at this and you try to figure those numbers up, but
Yeah.
it
And
just,
the reason you're all shocked is because you haven't always had the numbers before
No.
you to see.
Well-
This is our effort to be transparent.
well, we've piecemealed things together
Right.
over the years. So, and that's, I mean, that's saying, and it was good because it got us to a certain point, but now we're at a point where we can't settle for that.
The reason we decided $6 million is because we know that's currently what we can afford. If the economy doesn't grow, if development doesn't take off, if we stay at the budget rate we are right now, you can afford the debt service on that $6 million.
Okay. Negative and positive, okay? Negative, of course, was the part I sat down with Kathy for many hours over this and discussed it, that, you know, I think all of us thought there would be, for $6 million, we'd see a library or something else on this project too, and it was kind of a slap in the face when we had to downscale the two projects that are going on there. And, you know, I understand, commercial rates are a little different than residential rates. If not, we could do this for $118 a square foot probably, you know, and I don't think we can do that for this with the prep and everything. So, you know, Kathy and I had some deep discussions on this, and she knows how I feel about it, because there's no one that's sitting up here that doesn't want Depot Square. If we don't do something, now on the positive side, if we don't do something there, and with the other development coming in, Depot Square is not prospering at all. It's just at a complete standstill right now. So we got businesses are coming in, they're saying that they're going to put some money in. And I think this is a way, and we've discussed it before, that we're going to have to do it also. And this project, I think, is probably as good as we can get for about $6 million is what we're talking about. The only other question I had, and it may already be, does this become part of B3? Or is it now? I can't remember, but that's something we need to think about.
It is currently zone B3.
Is it B3 now? All the way through the soccer, or is it?
No, the soccer is deed restricted now, even
That's
though
right.
it's zoned.
But it's still in
It's still part of B3.
Parking for
Just from that parking lot over, yeah, the phase that's being worked on now, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's something we need, because that means a lot, whether it's
Because you
some,
have those two out parcels. You'll
Yeah.
have two out parcels that are zone B3 that the town could
build or
use
sell.
for future growth, such as a library, or sell at some point in time with the parking and amenities around it, if you so chose. I'm not suggesting you do that.
anyway, it was tough when I saw that what the limit amount that we're going to be able to do for the amount of money we're going to spend. So don't think it's, that we didn't, I think probably most of everybody up here researched a lot on this, and and just had a lot of discussion on this. I know I did, and it's, but I think when we get through, it's gonna pay for itself in usage. It's never gonna pay for itself as far as bringing money into the town and setting it on here, but, it.
But it's
it
money
will-
well
It will
invested.
probably bring commercial more in, it'll probably bring more residential in, and, you know, I think it's a good thing.
If at minimum, it brings a little more traffic past them, so that'll stop them off for you.
Now, that really makes me feel good since I live on that street, you know?
No, I'm talking about the commercial people.
Okay, that's all. You know, I think it's gonna be a good project. It's gonna be a long, drawn-out project, and it's gonna take some patience.
It's an investment into the identity of our town. As these businesses come in, we don't want Arlington, the old town Arlington, to get lost in the shuffle. So us investing this money and having a farmer's market, an amphitheater where we can all sit out, you know, whether it's music on the square, theater, anything, we're investing in our identity. And we need to do it as the other commercial comes in, or our identity will be lost. So I think we really need to get with it.
I agree. I think, you know, a lot of people move to Arlington because it's such a family-friendly community, and they look for those events every year throughout the year that they can take their families to go to, and it's a safe environment for them. And just knowing with the development that we have coming in Depot Square, which is fabulous, we've got to make arrangements to accommodate those events and not lose them in the shuffle of growth. So I am all for it. I believe this is something we have to do, and I believe it's a long-term project for this town.
Any other?
I will say this too, you know, one of the things that makes it, you know, more acceptable from a financial standpoint is the position that our reserves are in, you know, from the people that have been running the town for the last 10 years, a lot of you up here. You know, you put us in the position to be able to do something like this and it not be a huge risk, but just for the record, so everybody knows, in 3 years, when this project is complete, you know, as long, if the economy and everything is going the way it should and our reserves are still financially stable, I'd much prefer to pay it off than to have $400,000 come out of our, you know, annual budget going to a bank. So, you know, if the money's there at that point, hopefully that's something we can visit.
I think we should look at that. We've got to keep in mind too of interest rates bringing in as much as going out also. So sometimes it's to an advantage to, because this interest rate we're getting on this is pretty down, you know.
Not as good as you could have gotten last July.
Well, no,
But still pretty good.
But still better than we would get next month. Yeah, so,
the big question I had for Kathy, I said, how can Olympic Steakhouse build a place down there for $3.5 million and we can't build a farmer's market for under $6 million? You know, that was the big question. And of course, this commercial, we understand what it is.
you're also looking, yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of acreage. So is that everybody's questions and concerns? Okay, well, I can, just from myself, I don't want to speak for staff, but just in my conversations with them, I think everybody appreciates the concern, but they also appreciate the vision of the board to trust them to move forward with a project like this, because it's something that we all benefit from. So let's go to the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That item passes. Thank you. Sorry for such a long discussion. It's just anytime we talk about that kind of money.
$6 million discussion,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Next up, item G, Resolution 2018-18, to authorize Mike Wisman in his capacity as mayor to enter into an agreement with Powers Hill Design for professional design services for the preparation of bid documents for civil engineering components at Forest Street campus. Mrs. Durant?
This is a companion to what you just heard, so all the conversation is relevant. Powers Hill's been our engineer for a very long time. They've already done a lot of preliminary work here. That's why you have the preliminary cost estimate. That's why you have the preliminary layout. It is in keeping with the vision that you had for your Depot Square Master Development Plan. We would suggest that you approve moving forward with Powers Hill to complete this project.
You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve?
To approve.
Motion by Mr. Brooks,
Second.
second by a couple people. I'll give it to Mr. McKee over here. Discussion or questions, since we just had a lengthy discussion?
Jason, get to be our inspector again?
We may have somebody else, qualified to inspect. He's a high-priced guy.
He's a very reliable and trustworthy young man, though. He's straightforward.
You've got anybody cheaper? You got anybody with cheaper?
They gotta be as good, though. He set the bar high for you.
I can tell you, he'll have his hand on every aspect of it.
Good.
Good.
We've got his cell number.
I can get it.
Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That item passes. That was G. So item H, Resolution 2018-19 to authorize Mike Wisman in his capacity as mayor to execute a certificate of compliance for Vescovo's Arlington Liquors LLC located at 11949 Highway 70. Mrs. Owens.
This is a certificate of compliance. It's required by the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission each year for anyone that has a retail liquor store. They have to provide this certificate of compliance to us. We run a background check on them just to make sure that they're still in good moral standing with everyone. They have submitted everything. They came back clear, and staff recommends that you do approve this.
You've heard the recommendation by Ms. Owens. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Pardue.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brooks. Discussion or questions? This is basically just cleanup.
It is, and it requires, the majority of the board to sign right now. It's
Oh, everybody, we need to sign if it, okay, okay. All right. Any discussion or questions?
That's right.
Well, they're probably glad the census come in at under 15,000.
Yeah, but, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That item passes. Any other new business, Mrs. Owens? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the bills for payment?
Motion.
Motion and a second by Mr. McKee and Mr. Brooks. Any objection to paying the bills? Seeing none, that item passes. Any other announcements before we adjourn? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Yep. Mr. McKee? Mr. McKee, second. Any objection? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.